Welcome to Make Your Mark podcast, where guests share their experiences, insights, and tactics to help you accelerate your business. So building, scaling, and monetizing your business is made easier. And I will be your host, Kay Suthar. Oh my goodness, guys. I am super excited for our guest today. I've already had a really exciting conversation with him back of the scenes, and he's an awesome person. I can't wait for him to share golden nuggets with you. Now, his name is Ben. He's the owner of Balbert Marketing, LLC. He's also the curator of the Real Business Connections Network, where he hosts 5 podcasts. Yes, 5 of them. Once an underdog, now a successful entrepreneur, Ben is passionate about helping other underdogs achieve their dreams. Ben is on a mission to actually move the needle on 1 million lives with one conversation at a time. Please welcome to the stage, Ben Albert. Oh my goodness, I'm super excited to have you here today, Ben.
I'm excited to be here. This is going to be a ton of fun. I loved talking with you, chatting in the green room or whatever we want to call it. And I know this is going to be a fruitful discussion.
Absolutely. Now, there's so much to talk about when it comes to business connections. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, I would love for you to share with the audience a little bit about what your journey looked like, because I'm sure building this business didn't happen in the snap of a finger one day.
No, not at all. Well, one thing that's on my mind, and it won't make sense to a lot of the listeners, is did you just see my video change views out of the blue for no reason?
I did.
It's super bothering me. You clicked record and then like the zoom went out. So elephant in the room. I have no clue what just happened.
Did you want to change it?
Not a problem. I'm just curious if the people at home know why that happened, what happened. Kay clicked record and suddenly I zoomed out, which was super weird. But the funny thing about Zoom, the thing is, I didn't just snap a finger and like become a business owner, entrepreneur. I did replace my sales executive income in just over a year. But it wasn't a snap of a finger, and my entire life led up to that. And zooming out, tech issues, literally like there was nosebleeds every step of the way. I don't want to say every day, but every week I had a new struggle, a new nosebleed. And really this part of my journey this chapter started at COVID, which is cliche now, but this is going to be a pivotal part in so many entrepreneurs, business owners, just leaders' lives. And when COVID hit, I was actually let go from my sales executive role. I thought that I was going to just continue to move up the corporate ladder. I liked where I was at. And realistically, I was kind of actually just lying to myself, because every Monday, I'm on the record, but who cares? Every Monday, I would take an unprescribed Xanax to get through the meetings for the day, because I was stressed, miserable, and really didn't feel like I was in alignment with who I was. But I don't know if I quite understood that at the time. And when COVID hit and I got let go and my book of business and my momentum was stripped from me, I had those moments of emptiness and sorrow and curiosity where realistically I was doing 2 things. I was doing all the things that made me better. I started reading again. I started binging on podcasts. I relaunched my music podcast that I had from 2016. It was a Rochester, New York, where I'm from, music show. So I relaunched this music podcast. I'm hiking, scaling summits. And at the exact same time, I was doing all the things that made me bitter. So as I was making myself better, I was also making myself bitter by drinking way too much, started to fall into negative habits of just binging Netflix, staring at the wall. And I was unemployed and had no real momentum. So I wasn't sure where I was going to go with my life. And just by boredom and ADHD and kind of a little bit of neurosis, started my business, Balbert Marketing, which I don't think I even named well. It's B. Albert, like Ben Albert, Balbert Marketing. But when I was filing my LLC, I needed to do something to get started. And I filed that LLC, and a local charter school, which is like a private school in my hometown, found my music podcast on Google and they asked if I could teach podcasting virtually to their students.
Wow.
So my very first client was education, which I had no background in, podcasting, which I had never made a penny in, for students, completely out of the blue. And I started with this class and they loved the program, so they had me teach to the regional students as well. So my first two clients were education space, but that gave me enough income momentum that I could start that at just a nominal amount of hours per week while I built the foundation of Balbert Marketing in the marketing space and got enough momentum, launched a new podcast. It's behind me, Real Business Connections. And over time, ultimately replaced my sales executive income, built out the podcast to be top 1% globally, and have met and worked with killer people. But I'm going to shut up. I never imagined this is who I'd be. There was no Brene Brown or Elon Musk or Richard Branson on my wall. I was just trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do with my life. And things have started to fall into place. And that's really humbling to be on the journey.
That's really interesting to hear. Now, you've gone through a lot of ups and downs, a lot of kind of twists and turns to get to where you are today. Now, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you didn't know what type of business to build. It just kind of happened and you went with it. Is that correct in me saying that?
Yeah, it's 100% correct. And to give one tiny little detail, I was selling magazine advertising. So I was doing magazine advertising and I was doing podcast education. And then I started a marketing firm because that's what I did at my previous career. But I didn't just pick a medium, pick a passion and just triple down on it. I was dabbling. I was very uncertain as to where it would go.
Right. Now, I'm curious. You said that you were working in education with kids. What ages were they and what was that like?
They were high school students.
Okay. Uh-oh.
It's hard for me to describe what it was like with context because I've never taught students and it was virtual and everyone had just went virtual. So it was new to everybody, but it was nearly impossible to get people on camera. I sometimes wondered if they were paying attention or not. But one thing that was beautiful about podcasting is in both my classes, we started a podcast. And there's so much you can talk about, and we can go this direction. It's kind of boring in some ways, but there's audio technology, there's editing, there's show notes, there's the cover art, there's setting up themes, topics. I didn't want to go into all that and bore, and a lot of that stuff, you need a hands-on feel.
Right.
We just started podcasting. We would be like, Kay, I want you to lead today. Pick a topic for the group. And then Kay would say, I want to talk about our favorite rappers. And then as a class, we would just talk about our favorite rappers and record it. And what I was trying to get across to the students is all you got to do is click record and talk about something you're passionate about. And that's better than doing nothing. So we kind of just started and it was interesting because I didn't know what to expect, but it was great to see people light up when they started to talk about something they were passionate about just by happenstance through the medium of podcasting. But, talking about things we love just brought up the energy in the room.
Yeah, and I absolutely love the fact that you just simplified it for them, right? Because when people think of podcasting, they do get into their heads that I need to know all the tech, I need to know how it all works, the SEO, the promotion, the marketing. And really what you need to do is just start talking and recording. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now you talk about real business connections, right? That's what your podcast is all about. Tell us and the audience a little bit more about what does business connections really mean and why is it so important in business?
So it's evolving to go from day one when I was looking for jobs. Before I even started my business, I was looking for jobs. I got on LinkedIn and revamped my, LinkedIn profile, new cover photo, new headshot, and I was just trying to apply for jobs. and nothing was landing, but I had a new LinkedIn profile, and a friend request on LinkedIn is a connection request.
Right. Yes.
So the term business connections, real business connections, it actually started locally. It was started as Rochester Business Connections. I've since rebranded to be international, but Rochester Business Connections came from the fact Ben Albert was seeking more Rochester business connections, quite literally. And a LinkedIn request was called a connection. So I was going to use LinkedIn to network and connect with people in Rochester. It was really that simple. And that's what it meant from the start. But we could do 10 hours on connection because it's so many things.
Yeah.
Like in a business context, it's, the more hands you shake, the more money you make, the better network you have, the more your network could be your cheerleaders and partners and talk about you. That a lot of business owners say my best form of business is referrals. That's how it should be. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have a website and actually optimize to bring in leads that aren't referred to you. But what makes you referable? It's the connection and the goodwill you leave in other people as you help them and help them grow. But even at like a personal context, it's like connecting with your own mind, body, and soul. It's feeling connected inner so you can be a magnet to people that need your message and repel people that don't. So connection is building in my brain in so many different ways, but it literally started from Ben is lost. He wants to be an entrepreneur, but it doesn't know where to start. So he's going to start a business connections podcast because he needs some. And what I've learned over time is the more business connections, the better. But the kind of connection and the kind of relationship and the mutual value drive, the win-win-win scenarios you create for one another is truly what takes it to the next level.
Okay, now, so for some of our listeners, they're very new to business, or they're just getting into the whole networking and what that looks like. So as you've been there, done it, what is the first thing when someone's first starting out that they need to think about when they're going out and connecting? Or maybe put it in this way, what are some of the mistakes people are doing from the get-go?
This is going to be a broad stroke, but every mistake seems to come under this category.
Okay.
They're being way too selfish and or talking about themselves way too much. No one cares. Now, people are empathetic and some people do care because they're just naturally extroverted and want to chat, but they don't know you. They don't. If we were to make friends with everyone we met, we'd be just over. We wouldn't have time. We'd be over capacity. So when you're meeting someone, it's not about who you are and what you do and how you can help, like how they can help you and how you need this. I hate the term pick my brain. It's just a single pet peeve of mine, but the concept of getting my brain picked, can I get those brain cells back? First off, I don't think I can get those brain cells back.
Right.
Second off, my time is worth more than a $3 cup of coffee. Right. So I love sponsoring people, mentoring them, putting my chips on them. But I also don't really like my brain being picked. I want a student that's going to apply the knowledge and actually go out and do things. So the biggest mistake across the board is sounding. You can be self-serving. We all need to help ourselves, but sounding way too self-serving. Okay. The way you reframe it is just to ask the question, what is in it for them?
Right. Okay.
And you could literally have the same conversations, but you make it about them. Instead of, hey, I want to pick your brain, it's, hey, I'm really impressed with what you're doing at this podcast, Kay. I want to be a champion for everything you do. And in turn, maybe I learn a few things from you, but is there any way that I can promote you? Or don't even ask, is there any way I can promote you? Just start promoting them.
Right.
Just start introducing people to them. Start sharing their stuff. add
Yeah,
value.
absolutely. I love that. And you just kind of popped something into my mind here. It's funny because
Mm,
even the smallest things that you do by promoting people, like I remember reading the Go Giver book. Don't know if you've
yes.
read it, right, with Bob Berg. And I was in Bali at this time, right? In Bali, but I was glued to this book. I could not put this book down, even though I was on the beach, on the sand with the ocean in front of me. I could not put this book down. And I posted it on Facebook saying that everyone's got to read this. Like, this is such a mind shift, right? On the way you connect with people, the way you do business. You got to go and, read this book. Oh my goodness. Bob Berg actually saw my post,
There it
right?
is.
Commented, right? And actually said thank you and appreciated that I put this post up. And guess what? He came onto my podcast on one of these episodes, right? So
Yes.
these small things, right, goes a long way when it comes to building your connections and your network and doing business with people. So I love what you just said there. That is absolutely true. Now, how you said that you meet everybody and you can have these conversations, but we don't have the capacity, right, to have these conversations with everybody. So how do you filter out the people that you should be speaking to, shouldn't be speaking to, or the types of different conversations you should be having with them?
I wish I could give you a perfect answer.
Oh, Ben.
I really wish I could. There's a lot of canned responses I can give you.
Hmm.
Um, but the bigger my network and the larger my clients and the more money I make, the easier it is for me to have blind spots to what got me here. And what got me here was not judging based on where they are in their business or how long they've been in business. For all we know, we could have a 2-month entrepreneur and, oh, they're 2 months in, they're 22 years old. What can they do to help me? For all we know, they started a business at 16, just sold it at 21, and now they're a multimillionaire by 22. But you see that they're 22 and only been in business for a month or two, and then you write them off.
Yes, that's very true.
So it's hard to be like, oh, I'm only going to spend my time with X because they deliver the greatest ROI when you don't know where the relationship might take one another.
Mm.
I think a better question to ask is, once I've spent my time with this person, was my energy drained? Was there discomfort? Would I like to spend more time with them? So what I've currently been doing, and this could be incorrect because it spreads me thin, is I spend my time with anyone at any time for almost any reason. But what I've been asking myself is, do I want to spend more time with them? So even if I spend 2 to 3 hours a week in conversations that didn't move the needle at all, I need to do that to determine what is going to move the needle.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of the 80-20 rule specifically because it's some lazy science, but
Right.
I really think it's like the 98-2 rule in this scenario. 2% of the people you talk to are going to generate like a significant amount of movement in your business, but you don't know who those 2 people are unless you talk to 100 people.
Mm.
So I'm thinking out loud because I don't have a specific formula. Because one thing, and I'll say it one more time and shut up, is I started to get excited about my success. And then I started to forget about what got me here. And
Huh.
what got me here was having lots of conversations without judgment. So I'm
Mm.
starting to realize that that's probably the route. Whether or not there's a specific way to do it, it's just start having conversations without judgment and then know, okay, I need to go deeper with this person or I'm going to move along graciously.
Okay. Now, that's the case, right? When you're, I guess, in-person networking, right? You can get to know people a lot quicker, a lot deeper when you're actually face-to-face networking. But you started this on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
right? So on social media. And I'm sure it's very, very different, maybe even a little bit more challenging to actually network with people online. So how did you get that going online and doing so well with it?
Yeah, I would say it's easier to.
Oh,
So meeting someone in person is like 10x what it would be like just to talk to them online. It does turbocharge the relationship.
mhm.
But when you're on LinkedIn, you in theory can have 15 conversations at once. You can spend an hour where you post a social media post. Then I spend the next 55 minutes engaging on other people's posts, sending them direct messages. Like, again, if I see a post by Bob Berg, I might be like, wow, Bob, I'll make a comment, but I'll also direct message them and put
Right.
the direct comment in the direct message to skip over all the other comments and go direct to source. But I'm adding value. Bob, I loved your insight on X, Y, and Z, rooting you on, keep posting and I'll keep reading. And I'll send that. So I'll post, then I'll spend 55 minutes engaging, and then I'll spend 5 minutes at the end engaging on whoever engaged on my post. So I can tackle a lot of soft conversations and interactions very, very quickly. And then Zoom makes the world convenient for everybody.
Yeah.
So instead of like getting dressed and driving and sitting down and someone's running late and spending, 30 to 45 minutes just on travel to meet someone in person, I can meet them on Zoom so I can talk to a bunch of people all at once. And then I can set up meetings with people on Zoom and have it be tremendously efficient where from 10 to 11, I can post, engage, et cetera, et cetera. And then right at 12, I have a meeting. So it allows my ability to talk to a lot of people to be incredibly efficient, but I'm not going to set aside the fact, I'm not going to downgrade the fact that an in-person meeting is just better for the relationship build. But LinkedIn and Zoom made it really easy to talk to a ton of people efficiently and build relationships quickly that have become good friends over time where we do meet in person, we
Hmm.
do get coffee, beers, but it all started on LinkedIn, which is super cool.
That is very, very cool. Now, how do you go about then starting the conversation on LinkedIn or even finding the right person to start the conversation with?
I mean, it's going to be business dependent. This is a deep workshop in itself, but it's like who is your target client,
Hmm.
peer, or mentor? I'm trying to remember. James Altucher talked about this on my podcast. Um, zero minus equal is what he calls it. So the zero is a peer. The minus is an energy spend, but you're mentoring someone below you. And then a plus is an energy spend on their part because they're mentoring you. So
Ah,
what is your zero? What is your minus? What is your equal? And you look to connect with people in those three categories. And that's just for anybody across the board. Like, who do you want to learn from? Who is your peer? Or who do you want to mentor? And you always want to kind of have those people in your circle. The one thing that I guess I would add to that is who is your target client?
right.
And that's, I don't know how to put that in the zero minus equal framework. We're doing this live together, but when you're reaching out to target clients, it's the same thing. So like peers, mentors, mentees, and then a target client. And that covers a lot of ground. But step one is first understanding who those people are.
Mm.
Like, and they're not a certain gender. I mean, in some scenarios they are, but they're not a certain gender, age, or ethnic group or certain kind of business all the time. You need to determine like who this person is specifically for your business, and just starting conversations with those people is the simplest way to start surrounding yourself with those kind of people. And we already know this, those people know other people. So
Ah,
even if Kay is not a perfect, you're a peer of mine. You're not going to be a client. You're probably not going to be a mentee or mentor. We're peers. But since
mhm.
we know other people, we can be referral partners, nominate people for each other's podcast. We can make introductions for services.
Right.
So I think peers is way underrated. But anybody in those categories are the people you want to be surrounded by.
I really like that. I like how you categorize the different people. And so being able to identify who they are, you'll be able to have those different conversations with them. So that's awesome. Now, Ben, I don't know if you get this, but I get asked this all the time. But I'm an introvert, right? I can't go out there and start talking to people. What would you say to that introvert that's starting a business?
Yeah, one-to-ones and small group conversations is the tactical. Let's actually take a step back, though.
Okay.
The more it's a fun phrase. I already said the more hands you shake, the more money you make. It's true. If you're really good at business, you can shake less hands and make more money because you're just more efficient. But at the end of the day, humans buy from humans that fulfill services for humans that create products for humans. So everything in life is based on a relationship. Every transaction is based on a relationship. Even if I go on Amazon.com and buy a Halloween costume or buy a gift, I'm buying it because of a relationship-based reason, a comfort-based reason. So once you realize that, at the end of the day, you might be introverted, but if you're the CEO, the business development salesperson in your company, if you don't have people doing it for you, it's your job as founder and CEO to start putting yourself out there, start creating relationships, start talking about your message, start aligning with similar people so you can be a magnet to the people that you can serve and attract the people that you can serve. So that's just factual. Now, how do you do it? If you're introverted, smaller groups and one-to-ones. And I'm an introvert, and Zoom had made my life so darn easy because I'm a curious introvert with an insatiable love of learning. So I started a business podcast and hosted it on Zoom where I got to sit down with mentors that taught me how to run a business, but I got to create content with them while I did it. And since it was a one-to-one interaction I've got headphones on right now. It's super quiet in here. There's little distraction. I can be completely present for that human. Now, one thing that I've loved about my introverted friends and introverts in general is their capacity when there's not too much overwhelming stimuli to be truly present for that individual. Now, granted, they may need to take a nap afterwards or, have some time by themselves, which is totally normal. But a busy, hustling, bustling, 1,000-person networking event is overwhelming. But if you can get in one-to-one conversations, I just happen to do it on a podcast, in Zoom's a great way to get one-to-one or a small group, you can actually build deep conversations where you're not meeting as many people as the butterfly, feather in the wind extrovert talking to everybody on earth. But if you're smart and strategic, you can actually accomplish more with less because you're building deeper connection with those one-to-one conversations. So that's kind of the two-parter. One, remember that you're the CEO, business owner, salesperson. You need to get yourself out there, but you don't have to be everything for everyone. Figure out who you want to connect with and be intentional to get them in a room one-to-one in a small group setting and actually build a connection with them.
I love that. I love that. Now, oh my goodness, I know at this point, Ben, people are like, oh my goodness, I need to connect with Ben, right? So where can they go to connect with you?
First and foremost, I wouldn't be here without you. That's not beyond me. So if they haven't already clicked subscribe, they can do that really quick wherever they're consuming this. And if the bonus points hit 5 stars, you don't even actually have to leave a review on most platforms, but you could just punch 5 stars or punch like on YouTube if this is there. And then next step, you could leave a review. That's like super extra credit, but only once you've done that, you can find me wherever you found this. So just type in Real Business Connections wherever you found this or Google it. That's where you'll find my podcast. And that's where you'll find all the links. I mean, my number one platform's LinkedIn, but I'm on pretty much all the social medias. But if you leave a review for this, leave 5 stars, and then just Google Real Business Connections, you can find me wherever you hang out, and we'll start there.
Wow, Ben, thank you for that. And before we come to the end of this episode, do you have any last words to share with the audience?
So that was kind of my last word. I'm going to double down, show some love for your girl here because I wouldn't be here without her. You're listening to this podcast because of her, and I hope I kept you and didn't scare you away. One thing that's related to the conversation we had today, and I learned this tip from Jordan Harbinger, a mentor of mine, but one thing he does is he picks up his phone. You can do it on a desktop as well. Go to Facebook, go to email, go to any messaging app, email, your DMs, and scroll to the very bottom. You'll notice at the very bottom, it's someone that you talked to one time in a business context. Maybe they never responded to your proposal. In a friendly context, maybe it's your best friend from 10 years ago, but you guys haven't spoken in 3 years and now their girlfriend's pregnant. Like, you're going to see all these misconnections because you haven't stayed up to date. And just once a day, more equals more, but start once a day. Just take 45 seconds to send a message. Hey, Kay, I noticed X, Y, and Z, thought about you, and I'm still rooting you on. Hey, I just you make it up based on what's new and relevant in their life. Take 2 seconds to look at their profile, see what's new and relevant. Send one of those a day. Again, more equals more, but just one a day. 365 days a year for 10 years, for 1 year, for any amount of time. How do you think your relationships would change? I'll leave it to the listener to try it and let us know, but I try to send like 3 to 5 of those a day. It takes me a few minutes, and it leads to coffee meetings, it leads to goodwill, and it just leads to being front of mind, which is necessary as a business professional.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. You just can't stop giving those golden nuggets, Ben.
Yeah,
Oh my.
I need to get out of here. I apologize.
No. I love it. Absolutely love it. And I know the audience are going to love it as well. Thank you so much for coming onto the show and giving so much value. It was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.